Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama Om. You repeat the same line and stop after every line. Chapter 5, Karma Yoga.
Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, the superior way. Arjuna, even after the full glory of the light of wisdom shone on his bewildered mind in the previous discourse, does not find the way out of his difficulties.
Repeat it.
Arjuna, even after the full glory of the light of wisdom thrown on his bewildered mind in the previous discourse, does not find the way out of his difficulty. He wants to know...
Wait, after stop it. In spite of all the advice given by Lord Krishna, Arjuna had already decided that the best way out of this difficulty was to escape from the war and renounce everything, take to the life of a wandering monk. That was stamped in his mind. So whatever Lord Krishna advised did not really appeal to him, he did not accept them really. So the question again arose, oh Lord, you are advising karma and sannyasa both. Now tell me which is better. Yes.
He wants to know conclusively which would be the better course for him, whether the path of action or the path of renunciation of action. He wants to know conclusively which would be the better course for him, whether the path of action or the path of renunciation of action.
Now continue.
To remove this perplexity of the mind, Arjuna asks for a decisive word of advice as to which of the two paths is better for him to follow. To remove this perplexity of the mind, Arjuna asks for a decisive word of advice as to which of the two paths is better for him to follow.
Yeah.
Here, the rejoinder evoked from the Lord is direct and determinative. Here, the rejoinder evoked from the Lord is direct and determinative.
Now in answer to this question, Lord Krishna answers with a definite direction to Arjuna. He cannot be indecisive afterwards.
The Lord declares that sannyas and karma yoga both take the soul to the realization of the supreme bliss, but karma yoga is by far superior to sannyas. The Lord declares that sannyasa and karma yoga both take the soul to the realization of the supreme bliss, but karma yoga is by far superior to sannyasa.
Now the Lord declares very impartially that both karma yoga and sannyasa lead to the same goal. Though the approach may be different, the goal is the same. But at the same time, he adds that karma yoga is superior to sannyasa. Now he gives various reasons to justify his suggestion.
In truth, there is hardly any difference between the two paths.
There is absolutely hardly any difference between the two paths in that a layman cannot take to either karma yoga or sannyasa. One who is anxious to reach the goal alone can take to the path. Now he who ever takes the path has to renounce all his desires. One may be doing all his activities without any desire whatsoever, and dedicating all the fruits of his actions to the Lord, so that he may be completely free from the effects of those actions. The other may be renouncing the actions entirely, and for that also absolute desirelessness is necessary. So these two conditions are absolutely necessary in both cases.
In both cases, again, the realization of the Atman. In both cases, it is essential that the aspirant should be liberated from the thraldom of desire, hate, and the dvandvas. In both cases, it is essential that the aspirant should be liberated from the thraldom of desire, hate, and the dvandvas.
This is the main condition for both. Then,
in both cases again, the realization of the Atman is the common experience.
And also the result is the same.
The states of both the Karma Yogi and the Sannyasi in the supreme attainment of immortality are exactly the same. For the result of the one is the result of the other.
Whatever may be the difference in the way, the ultimate attainment is the same. That is the highest realization of their oneness with the Supreme Being.
So, the realized soul does not make any difference between the yogi engaged in the work of Lok Sangra and the Tyagi who has renounced such action.
One who has realized the truth, or say two people have realized the truth and have reached the same stage, there is no question as to which path they had taken. After all, what is necessary is to reach the goal. So a realized soul does not question in what way they approach the truth.
However, it is to be admitted that yoga or union with the Atman can be effected by everyone only through the performance of karma.
Here also again, importance is given to Karma Yoga because nobody can remain without doing any karma. It's only a question of how does karma is done. That is important. Even one try to remain without doing anything actually does something. They cannot remain without anything at all. The body appears to be sitting still or standing still, but at this time so many actions are going on in the body. This nobody can escape. So karma is unavoidable for a human being or any being born on the earth.
The yogi who through the knowledge of the Atman and side by side through action seeks to reach the ultimate divine reality goes to him with ease and swiftness.
So the path recommended by Lord Krishna is the path of karma, because through action he seeks to reach the ultimate reality, because in any case he has to do action, whether he sits quiet or not. So it is better to engage himself in the Karma Yoga and dedicate it to the Lord entirely.
Thus, the purified yogi, ever fixed in equality, his mind and senses under control, beholding his own self as the self of all beings, is still active in the world without having any effect of action on him.
So the Karma Yogi, by his practice of yoga, getting purified himself, he is ever fixed in equality, that is, he sees the one pervading everywhere, his mind and senses fully under control, and he beholds his own self as the self of all beings. This is the realization of the oneness. He sees his own self pervading everywhere and seated in everybody. He is still active. With all his experience, he is still active in the world. But at the same time, he is having no effect of the karma he is doing. That is the beauty of the attainment of the realization by Karma Yoga.
Now, all the works and movements of his external and internal organs are going on even after the ego sense has dissolved in the knowledge of the Atman, and he performs actions through all the organs of the body, knowing, I am not the doer of anything.
Read it again. Repeat the sentence.
Now, all the works and movements of his external and internal organs are going on even after the ego sense has dissolved in the knowledge of the Atman, and he performs through all the organs of the body, knowing, I am not the doer of anything.
Now, when he has realized this truth, he knows fully well that all the movements in his body, the internal organs as well as the external organs, are going on working, even when there is no ego sense in him. That is, he is fully aware now that the dynamic aspect of God, the Prakriti itself, is active through his body, internally and externally. And he can say, whatever action is done, I am not the doer. In fact, others say, instead of using the word I, say, Prakriti is doing it, or the Lord is doing it. Even they don't like to bring that little I there. He knows that the Lord is doing everything. So he has no sense of doership altogether.
Harmonized in the Atman, he becomes the spectator of the senses, playing with the object of the senses, himself untouched and unmoved.
Tell it again.
Harmonized in the Atman, he becomes the spectator of the senses, playing with the object of the senses, himself untouched and unmoved.
Now his identification with the Atman, which is all-pervading. That Atman is the witness of everything that is going on in the Prakriti, in the dynamic aspect of God. So he identifies himself with that witness.
Now, the actions of the yogi assume the divine nature because they are born of the supreme power or Shakti of the Lord. Now, the actions of the yogi assume the divine nature because they are born of the supreme power or Shakti of the Lord.
Now again, difference is there. The actions were done by the same body before the realization, and actions are done after realization also. The actions done before realization were tinted by the ego. Now the ego is completely destroyed or gone, and therefore God alone is working through that body. The actions, such actions of the yogi assume the divine nature because divine itself is working through that body. So there is a lot of difference between the actions done by an ignorant person and also by the realized soul. Yes.
Since in all that he does, there is no attachment. He is undefiled by the stain of sin, and his condition is compared to a lotus leaf in water which remains unmoist in spite of its contact with water. Since in all that he does there is no attachment, he is undefiled by the stain of sin, and his condition is compared to a lotus leaf in water which remains unmoist in spite of its contact with water.
Now such a person, while doing actions, he remains without any attachment, because attachment is because of the ego sense. As in this case the ego is completely gone, there is no chance of any attachment. As all his actions are now without any attachment, he is undefiled by the stain of sin. There is no question of sin or virtue there. Whatever actions he does is neither sin nor virtue, because he has gone above both. The sin and virtue are only labeled by ignorant people. When it is God who does all those actions, we can only say the actions are done by God. We cannot label them as sin or virtue. We may label them in spite of it, but the truth is that God is above, beyond, God is beyond all sin and virtue. And his condition is like that of a lotus leaf. Lotus leaf is floating in water, but water falling over it is not touching the leaf. It is not tainted by the leaf. Drops of water falling on the lotus leaf simply roll away, and the leaf does not get wet by the water. So that is an example shown of detachment. Yes.
He is the true yogi who, having given up moha, is doing all actions by the body, mind, intellect and the senses, and surrendering them completely to the divine Shakti, moving in Prakriti, remains always pure and unaffected, ever fixed in the Atma. He is the true yogi who, having given up moha, is doing all actions by the body, mind, intellect and the senses, and surrendering them completely to the divine Shakti, moving in Prakriti, remains always pure and unaffected, ever fixed in the Atma.
That is perfectly clear. Then,
thus, with a balanced mind, abandoning desire for the reward of action, he attains immortal peace.
now, having reached this stage, he has a balanced mind. He is not unruffled in any conditions. He has absolutely no desire for the reward of action. He attains immortal peace. He is always in peace. Nothing is there to disturb him. That is the result of attaining immortality, attaining the true realization, and thus becoming a true yogi.
By this act of surrender to the will and workings of Shakti or Prakriti, the yogi naturally maintains the inner calmness and bliss of the reality. But he whose works are prompted by desire, craving for the result of his actions, remains in a state of flux and tumult, and there is no peace for him.
This is a comparison between a person who has surrendered himself to the will of the Lord and working of the Prakriti, that is, who accept that whatever work is done through his body is done by God only, by the Prakriti only. By God means by God through Prakriti only. He remains always in peace. He is always calm and maintains his inner peace and bliss, not of the relative peace and bliss, but peace and bliss of the divine, of the reality. Whereas the one whose works are prompted by desire, one who is working for the fulfillment of his desire, who is craving for the result of his actions, remains in a state of flux and tumult, and there is no peace for him. He is always ruffled. He has no peace. He is always craving for the peace. He is always worrying, will I reap the result of my actions? What will happen to them? All these worries haunt him always.
So, the way for him is to uproot from the mind the poisonous growth of desire, the cause of egoistic action, and still be living and acting in the body through the realization of his eternal being, who is the actionless Atma. So, the way for him is to uproot from the mind the poisonous growth of desire, the cause of egoistic action, and still be living and acting in the body through the realization of his eternal being, who is the actionless Atma.
Now the choice is whether to remain happy in spite of doing all the actions, or to be worrying with all anxieties while doing the actions. Now, if we abandon that enemy called desire, we will be able to do all actions spontaneously without the craving for the results of those things, and remain happy and peaceful in all conditions. Otherwise, the desire, which is the cause of our egoistic action, will necessarily make us very unhappy when we are doing all those actions. So we have this choice, either to be free from all desires and enjoy the peace and bliss while working, or give up all desires and remain unhappy and peaceless in all conditions and circumstances. That is our choice. We have to decide this. If we choose the one, we must give up our desires. We know that our desires are our enemies. Desire is our worst enemy, as they say. Until and unless we give up the desire, we cannot be happy in this world. Yes.
The Lord, as this immovable aspect, is unaffected by the works of Prakriti. Though Prakriti works through his will, without causing any corresponding movement in the static Atma. The Lord, as this immovable aspect, is unaffected by the works of Prakriti. Though Prakriti works through his will, without causing any corresponding movement in the static Atma.
Here is again giving the attribute of the Atman. The Lord himself is the Atman. He is static. He is immovable. But at the same time, though he is immovable, he is the giver of strength to Prakriti. Without his support, the Prakriti cannot exist. Prakriti becomes very inactive. So, the Prakriti is doing all actions because of the power Prakriti gets from the Atman, from the Purusha. But at the same time, Purusha is unaffected by whatever the Prakriti does. Yes.
The active Prakriti performs all works actuated by the Supreme Lord, devoid of the dual sense of good and evil. The active Prakriti performs all works actuated by the Supreme Lord, devoid of the dual sense of good and evil.
Now, Prakriti, becoming active because the power of the Atman, is performing all the works because of the strength of the Atman. And there is no question of good and bad in it. Prakriti's activities are taking place according to the will of the Lord. The active Prakriti performs all works actuated by the Supreme Lord, devoid of the dual sense. The Prakriti is just active because of the power of the Atman, and there is no question of good and bad in it. Everything that happens is just happening, that's all. Then,
So, the Lord, both as the Atman and Prakriti, is neither responsible nor is affected by the so-called evil action or good action of anybody.
that's a beautiful sentence. So the Lord, both as the Atman, Lord is giving the power to Prakriti to act. And Prakriti is acting because of the power of the Atman. The action done by the Atman, whether it is good or bad, is not affecting the Atman. But any person who has the ego sense and claims the doership is affected by whatever action is done through that body. Though Prakriti is in general not affected by whatever happens, whatever action is done by Prakriti, any individual who claims the sense of doership is affected by the actions done through that body. It means, so the Lord, both as the Atman and Prakriti, is neither responsible nor is affected by the so-called evil action or good action. So many actions are going on which are considered good or which are considered as evil. But neither the Atman nor the Prakriti is affected by them. But it is understood a person who has the ego sense is affected by whatever action is done through that body because he has the sense of doership. Now,
those who are ignorant, whose knowledge is clouded by illusion, behold these opposites in the movements of Prakriti and experience the momentary and revolving phases of joy and grief. Those who are ignorant, whose knowledge is clouded by illusion, behold these opposites in the movements of Prakriti and experience the momentary and revolving phases of joy and grief.
those ignorant persons alone consider these actions as good and bad or good and evil, and because of those actions they are happy sometimes or sorry sometimes. It's only because of ignorance. If you are able to watch as dispassionate witnesses as the Prakriti moments are taking place because of the Atman, and neither the Atman nor the Prakriti is affected by those actions, we will not be affected by whatever happens. Yes.
Those who have destroyed ignorance by the attainment of knowledge possess the light and joy of the Atman at all times, just as the sun ever shines. Those who have destroyed ignorance by the attainment of knowledge possess the light and joy of the Atman at all times, just as the sun ever shines.
Now those who have realized God, that is, those who have removed ignorance or those who have removed their ego sins by the attainment of knowledge, are always immersed in the joy of the Atman at all times. There is no question of a break in that. Yes.
Thus, the yogi, through constant meditation on the Atman and having perfect absorption in it, lives and moves, possessing all devotion for that truth alone. Thus, the yogi, through constant meditation on the Atman and having perfect absorption in it, lives and moves, possessing all devotion for that truth alone.
So, thus the yogi, through constant remembrance, constant meditation on the Lord, lives in the Atman. He never has, breaking the communion with God never takes place in his life. He is always in communion with the Atman and enjoys the peace and bliss of the Atman always. That is done by continuous meditation of the Atman.
Now, the desire, ego, and moha being dead, he reaches that deathless state from which he does not descend again into the vicious circle of birth and death. Now, the desire, ego, and moha being dead, he reaches that deathless state from which he does not descend again into the vicious circle of birth and death.
By this sadhana, when he realizes oneness with the Atman, he is now free from desire, ego, and any type of attachment. He reaches that state which is deathless. That means he has lost his ego sin, the ego has merged in him, so there is no chance for him to take birth again. Yes, that's right.
For such a liberated soul, all distinctions which an ignorant vision sees in the manifestation are lost. For such a liberated soul, all distinctions which an ignorant vision sees in the manifestation are lost.
For him, he lives in the Atman, and the entire manifestation is another form of the Atman, which is called Prakriti. Now for him, There is absolutely no distinction. He knows both are one. There is no difference at all. He is not.
His knowledge of the Atman, that is, the knowledge that he is the all-pervading, changeless, infinite, and eternal Atman, makes him look upon all creatures and beings with an equal sight.
Read it again.
His knowledge of the Atman, that is, the knowledge that he is the all-pervading, changeless, infinite, and eternal Atman, makes him look upon all creatures and beings with an equal sight.
Now he has realized his oneness with the Atman. His vision has become broad and the small circle is broken, and now his vision is infinite. So he looks upon everything with an equal vision. He sees everything, or rather, he sees all forms are resting on the one unifying force, that is the Atman. So vision has become broad, that's all.
We,
there also he says, we with an equal sight. Equal sight means he sees the one in everybody. Yes.
he a learned man,
Yeah.
a cow, elephant, a dog, or much despised outcast. The yogi, seeing in all of them his own Atman, equally loves all, irrespective of external differences.
Now he sees diversity. Now he sees the unity in diversity. He sees a saint, a sinner, a dog, an elephant, or a person of low caste. But he does not see merely the external body. He sees the one Atman pervading in all these bodies. So he loves all of them equally. Yes.
Because of his mind being fixed in the eternal, he has attained that harmony which is unaffected by the external impact of objects. Because of his mind being fixed in the eternal, he has attained that harmony which is unaffected by the external impact of objects.
He has experienced that eternal, infinite existence. And he has also knows that that is the unifying force for the names and forms seen diversely in the manifestation. So he is not affected by the differences in the external forms. He loves all forms equally. Yes.
Thus, steadfastly fixed in yoga, through the discriminative faculty of the intellect, the self-realized soul is freed from the emotions of pleasure and pain caused by the gain or loss of things. Thus, steadfastly fixed in yoga, through the discriminative faculty of the intellect, the self-realized soul is freed from the emotions of pleasure and pain caused by the gain or loss of things.
When we are established in our own self, means when we are abiding in our own self, that gives us so much peace and bliss that whatever happens in the manifestation, that is in the Prakriti, is not of any consequence to us, because we know that these are all purely transitory and we are not to be concerned seriously about them. So we don't give importance to those loss and gain and pain and pleasure and all that which belong to the Prakriti. Yes.
Since he has discovered within himself an independent and imperishable source of joy, his attachment to outside context ceases. Since he has discovered within himself an independent and imperishable source of joy, his attachment to outside context ceases.
Now he is in tune with that eternal and infinite existence which gives him peace and bliss absolute. When he is enjoying that peace and bliss, why should he care for the transitory joy that the Prakriti can give him? So he is not at all attached to the joy and happiness that the Prakriti can give. And here again he says, because he knows that whatever the Prakriti can give is only perishable, whereas he is established in the imperishable and independent peace and joy. So, will anybody care for the transitory and temporary joy that he may get in the Prakriti when he is established in the absolute peace and bliss of the eternal? It is just like asking somebody to choose between Ganga water and gutter water. Will anybody choose gutter water when Ganga water is placed before him? Ganga water is the bliss of the Atma, whereas the gutter water is the pressure derived from the worldly context.
Yoga means equilibrium, a state of unalterable peace and bliss of the Atma.
Here given this meaning of the yoga. Yoga means equilibrium. Yoga has many meanings. Yoga means union with God. That union with God brings actually equilibrium. A state of unalterable peace and bliss of the Atman. Because the Atman or God is peace and bliss absolute. When we are in yoga with the Atman, we also enjoy peace and bliss of the Atman absolute. Yes.
The equal vision based upon the realization of the Atman as the one reality dwelling in all creatures and beings removes all externally apparent ignorance-born distinctions. The equal vision based upon the realization of the Atman as the one reality dwelling in all creatures and beings removes all externally apparent ignorance-born distinctions.
All these distinctions in the manifestation are seen only because of our ignorance. But when having removed ignorance, we get the equal vision. Based upon the realization of the Atman, all distinctions in the manifestation cease to exist. Yes.
Shri Krishna describes the vision as enabling the seer to behold his own Atman both in the higher order of beings, the mankind, and also equally in the lower animal kingdom. Shri Krishna describes the vision as enabling the seer to behold his own Atman both in the higher order of beings, the mankind, and also equally in the lower animal kingdom.
Sri Krishna says here that the experience of the Atman, if one has experienced the Atman, he sees his own Atman in the entire manifestation, whether in the so-called higher, what is it, higher?
So-called in the
higher or lower, he sees his own Atman everywhere. That means when he is in the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he is identifying himself with the Atman only. There is no manifestation of there, no names and forms there. But after further sadhana, and when he comes to body consciousness from Samadhi, he sees the entire creation as God's own manifestation. There is no question of higher or lower beings. Everything is God's own manifestation. Everything is God in different forms. That is his experience. Yes.
We may apply this lofty rule of vision to the present day differences, which are the cause of so much disharmony and strife. We may apply this lofty rule of vision to the present day difference, which are the cause of so much disharmony and strife.
If everybody today has got the vision or the experience of the Atman, he and everyone will be able to see the entire manifestation, entire universe as a manifestation of God. So, to bring perfect peace and happiness in the world, what is required is to give the experience of the Atman to everybody. That is the solution, easiest solution. Yes.
By attaining the vision of the Atman, let us behold God alive in the man of the West and the East, in the European and the Asiatic, in the Christian and the Hindu, in the Hindu and the Muslim, the Brahmana and the non-Brahmana, nay, in people of all creeds, castes, colors, sects and parties. By attaining the vision of the Atman, let us behold God alive in the man of the West and the East, in the European and the Asiatic, in the Christian and the Hindu, in the Hindu and the Muslim, the Brahmana and the non-Brahmana, nay, in the people of all creeds, castes, colors, sects and parties.
That is our Papa's earnest prayer and wish, that everyone should get the experience of the Atman, and by getting that experience he should behold the same God in everybody, whether he is a European, American or an Indian or somebody else, or whether he is a human being or an animal or a creature. In everybody he should behold the Atman only, and thus love everybody. Then
it is within the experience of everyone that the pleasure one gets from the touch of the senses with their objects is impermanent and proves to be a source of misery and pain.
Yes.
It is within the experience of everyone that the pleasure one gets from the touch of the senses with their objects is impermanent and proves to be a source of misery and pain.
Now, talking about the highest experience and seeing our own self or God in every form in the manifestation, Baba comes down to the experience of the sense by the contact with the sense objects. Now it is within the experience of everyone that the pleasure one gets from the touch of the senses with their objects is impermanent. We all know that we enjoy the sense objects, but at the same time we know that it is very impermanent. Not only it is impermanent, but it is followed by sorrow also. Yes. So the wise
soul does not hanker after the delight of the senses.
So one who has a little wisdom does not worry about the sense enjoyments, as he knows fully well the consequences.
The really happy man is he who can withstand the attacks of patience in every content
and is ever content.
And is ever content in the bliss of the eternal. The really happy man is he who can withstand the attacks of patience and is ever content in the bliss of the eternal.
So, having known the effect of the enjoyment of the sense objects, a man can remain really happy who can withstand the attack of passions. In spite of temptations, he should be able to resist them and avoid enjoyment of the sense objects. Then only he can be really happy. He must be able to resist the temptations and remain ever content in the bliss of the eternal. He can resist the temptation only if he has something better to fall upon. When he has tasted the bliss of the Atman, he will be able to try to contact or remain in communion with the Atman. That will make him get over the temptation to enjoy the sense objects. One who has no idea of a higher life, one who has not tasted the peace and bliss of the eternal, naturally will be drawn towards the enjoyment of the sense objects. So what we need is, we must get a glimpse or a touch of that supreme peace and bliss. Then we will be free from our desire to enjoy the sense objects in this world. Then when we are running after the sense objects in the world, we can never hope to be happy. So a really happy man is he who can withstand all these temptations and abiding in his self. That can be possible only when he is abiding in his self. So he must resist the temptations by abiding in the self. To abide in the self, he must try to commune with the self constantly, meditate on the self, and get higher experiences. Until he is established in the self, he is in a state of real struggle to get himself or remain in communion with the self constantly. Once the realization takes place, the experience or the communion with the self will be constant, will be unbroken, that too without any effort. Now we have few more lines. We'll do it tomorrow. That will cover the entire chapter tomorrow. Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama Om Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama Om Shri Rama